Okay, here we are, sliding into the end of 2020. And I want to finish up this final month of the year with a conversation about practices. Let's start with why practices and why they're important. I have a lot of various practices that I do at different times, depending on where I am in my life, what muscles I'm needing to build, and in what ways I'm really committed to growing. And over the course of the next couple of weeks, I'm going to brainstorm with you, introduce some of these practices to you, and help you to see how you might implement some of these little micro moves into your life for really huge benefits. So as I was thinking about that this morning about practices, as I was doing my morning practices and thinking about practices, I was remembering back to my high school days. So I was a cheerleader in high school, and like a lot of cheer squads, we went to state competition every year. So I remember specifically practicing for competition and being exhausted by the practice, right? We have this massive routine. We're running through it over and over. We've got stunts and tumbling and jumps and the whole nine. And I remember one time asking, well, probably more than once, we would ask our cheer coach, do we have to, she would say, okay, from the top. We'd say, do we have to tumble? Do we have to do our passes, And she'd say, yes, you have to do them. Like that's how you perform like you practice. And there was something about that stuck with me, right? And it's similar when we're talking about our life practices. We practice in the times that it's relatively easy so that in those moments when shit hits the fan or the rubber really needs to hit the road, we have developed the necessary muscles and capacities to weather that season in our life with a certain amount of grace and power. Sometimes our practices are the only thing that keep our head above the water when life is really, really hard. But sometimes it's our practices and these muscles, these capacities that we've developed that enable us to make it through a season of life, not just surviving, but really, truly thriving and doing well. There's certain areas that we move through in surprisingly healthy ways because we've taken the time in the easier seasons to develop these muscles. It's no different than like going to the gym. It's really like that. If we want to be good and skilled in certain areas, we have to put in the work. We have to do the reps, as one of my friends says. We got to do the reps to build the muscles that we need. So when we talk about practices, I'm talking about specific, clear actions that you take on a consistent basis on behalf of a skill or an ability you want to develop. So it could be that you're really committed to being more patient with your kids. Maybe you want to be able to say no more often. Maybe you want to speak up in the times that it feels a little risky to speak up. Maybe you want to be more courageous in how you dress and express yourself. It doesn't matter. Whatever the skill or the capacity is that you want to develop, you're going to have to practice it at some level. It's very unlikely you're just going to walk into the game and start hitting home runs or nailing a slam dunk. My sports analogies are going to be really terrible, but I think you get the gist of what I'm trying to say, right? Okay, so to begin, before we even start developing practices or reevaluating the things you're already doing, let's take a pause to just look at where are you currently really strong and where are you not as strong as you'd like to be, and therefore are some areas that you might want to develop some practices. So I invite you to do just a very simple journal prompt, like a brain dump of sorts. Here are the things I'm really good at. Here are my strengths. Like, these are the things I have practiced and that I've got some real facility with. Dump those things first. And then take a moment to evaluate, where am I not so strong, but I'd really like to be better? And when I say you'd really like to be better, let's look at, like, on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm at least a 7 in terms of my commitment to this area. So I really want to grow at this. I really want to be better at this. I want to be better at this. And I'm at least a 7 in my level of commitment to this thing. Okay, let's start there, do that. And then next week we'll look at other little things that we need to do in order to build some strong practices into our life so we can build new muscles. All right, see you then.